下面就是请吉尔大学孔子学院院长江瑜博士来介绍我们这个 Keynote。
我们非常荣幸的邀请到这个 Miss Calloway。All right. Okay. So 我们最初听说Miss Calloway 她是因为是陈纳德将军的孙女儿，然后她对两国之间就是中美两国之间的关系，两国的understanding 做了非常重要的贡献，所以我们就决定合作，邀请她过来。那我现在非常荣幸的就是我介绍一下Okay. So Miss Nell Calloway has been the director of the Chennault Aviation and Military Museum since 2008. The granddaughter of General Claire Chennault, who was the founder of the Flying Tigers. Miss Calloway has a passion for the museum's mission that is both keenly professional and deeply personal. She leads the Chennault family's vision for the general's legacy through the museum and her constant work around the USA and Asia. She has worked tirelessly, both nationally and internationally, to remind people of the close bound relationship between the USA and the people of China and Asia during World War II. On the national scene here in the States, Ms. Calloway was honored by participating in the events such as the New York Veterans Day Parade and the Washington, D.C. Memorial Day Parade. In addition, she has addressed a decorated audience in Washington, D.C. as the Air Force Memorial, and she has served as national spokesperson for Keep the Spirit of 45 Alive on many occasions. She also, of course, as I think she's going to mention, she just returned back from China less than a week ago. She participated in the parade in Beijing, which was wonderful. And she also has great friends, met with a lot of leaders from both sides of the street. Impressed with Ms. Calloway's mission to improve U.S. and China relations, the global telecommunications giant Huawei has committed substantial funds to be used to model and expand the museum's General Chennault exhibit. The Chennault Aviation and Military Museum hosts the world's most extensive collection of artifacts from General Chennault's family and his life and his military career. Ms. Calloway is a well-known advocate for veterans and the family across the United States and around the world. She regularly meets with veterans and the families. She is well known to the leaders of all the major American veteran organizations, including the American Legion and the Veterans of Foreign Wars. I can attest to her commitment to supporting our troops here in the States. Just this morning, when we went out of the museum, she greeted the four fine gentlemen of the military servicemen who were coming to the museum today. Ms. Calloway continues working diligently to highlight the Chinese contribution to the Allied victory in World War II. Many of the highest and most important members of the Chinese government have recognized her efforts in this arena, and this work has also gained her the attention of many Chinese business units. So without further ado, once again, we're honored. We are also very honored. We are also very pleased that Ms. Calloway is here to present. Thank you.
Xie Ni hao. And that is the extent of my Chinese, so it will be in English. I want to recognize the Honorable Mr. Consul General Wong and Consul Fong from the Consul General's Office in Houston, Dr. Keith Hudson, Mrs. Tina Song of the Tan-Speaking-Yun, Councilwoman Cynthia Lee, Shing, President Hu, over there, Dr. Dai, and Mrs. Shin of the New Orleans Chinese Association, and Dr. Yu Zhang of the Xavier Confucius Institute, distinguished speakers and guests. Very honored to be here. This year has been a whirlwind of parades and celebrations marking the 70th anniversary of the end of World War II. I have been to Taiwan and I was able to see President Ma's military parade in celebration of the victory. And as Dr. Yu said, I just returned from China, where I also saw the magnificent display of President Xi Jinping's parade. It's been a great year. We've had several news agencies at the museum, and all of them want to know more about my grandfather, General Claire Chennault. Many are fascinated by Chennault and his squadron of Flying Tigers. The story is full of impossibilities and improbabilities. The AVG squadron saw its first action on December 20th of 1941, intercepting 10 Japanese bombers headed to drop bombs on Kunming. They shot down 9 of the bombers and lost only 1 aircraft. The Japanese never tried to bomb Kunming again while the AVG defended it. This was the first blow against the Japanese since the attack at Pearl Harbor, and it was the very first victory for Americans in World War II. And this was very heartening for both Chinese and Americans. On Christmas Day over Rangoon, Burma, 12 AVG planes were already in the sky awaiting the Japanese. But they probably didn't expect 80 bombers and 48 fighters. Still, Chennault's tactics worked. They shot down 23 Japanese planes and probably 6 unconfirmed kills, making it the biggest AVG victory of World War II. By the end of January, the AVG had destroyed 50 enemy aircraft with many more probable kills, losing 2 pilots and 6 aircraft. Throughout the spring of 1942, the AVG and Japanese traded sneak attacks, with the AVG giving better than it got, in large part thanks to the warning system. Time and time again, the pilots not only succeeded, they triumphed. But the number of the Japanese aircraft the AVG silenced would not have been possible if it weren't for the tactics and innovations of Chennault. Chennault taught his pilots to fight in pairs, to use speed and diving power to make a pass, shoot, and break away. With the success of the early warning net Chennault had created, the AVG destroyed close to 300 enemy aircraft and only lost 12 of their own in actual combat. This is a record that has never been broken to this day. In May of 1942, the Japanese army began building a pontoon bridge across the Salween River. Once built, this bridge would allow the Japanese to move troops and supplies from Burma into China. If the enemy made it across China, China would face certain surrender. Chennault's 2nd Squadron, led by Tex Hill, were able to put this advance to a stop, and they were never able to launch another successful attack on southern China, denying Imperial Japan of China's vast resources. In combat, they were outnumbered at least 10-1. Surviving the odds, the Tigers were never beaten in battle. Later, under Chennault's command, the 14th Air Force destroyed more than 2,600 enemy aircraft, sunk or damaged 2,230,000 tons of enemy merchant vessels and 45 naval ships, and killed more than 66,700 troops, with the smallest, most remote air force in World War II. And while the story of the Flying Tigers is heroic, it is important to realize that the victory would not have been possible without Chennault. Every great event has to start with one person. And in a world where it is easy to get lost in the masses and the overwhelming problems, one person can make a difference. My grandfather's struggles were personal. He was a country boy who decided to go to Louisiana State University instead of the United States Military Academy. He didn't fit in with his superiors, and they didn't agree with his unconventional tactics. His health was poor. He suffered from chronic bronchitis. He was hard of hearing because of flying airplanes before ear protection was necessary, and he had low blood pressure. In March 1937, he wrote a letter to his brother, Bill Chennault. He talked about his frustration. Nothing I have advocated or recommended has been attained. Every move I've made has been bitterly fought, and my future career as an Army officer has been thoroughly blocked. Forced into retirement, Chennault accepted an invitation that would change the world. When an old, well-worn road is blocked, a new path must be opened, my grandfather wrote. The job may amount to very little except a good paying position, but it may amount to a great deal. It is even possible that my feeble efforts may influence history. I couldn't possibly pass up this opportunity, for after all, very few boys from Gilbert, Louisiana will ever have the slightest chance to influence the history of the future years. Chennault retired from the U.S. military on April 30th, 1937. The following day, he sailed for China. When he left, he told my grandmother he would be gone for 3 months. When he arrived in China at the beginning of June of 1937, he realized what the Japanese were doing to the Chinese people, and he knew he needed to stay. With the war breaking out in July of 1937, he wrote Chiang Kai-shek a letter, and he offered his services, and the rest, they say, is history. This shows a man conflicted, but instead of giving up, he took the challenge to go to another country 7,000 miles away where they spoke a language he did not understand and try to make a difference. He stayed to help a people in need. He not only helped them, he did make a difference. He worked with the Chinese people to build an early warning net, and without this net, it is very likely that China and the U.S. would have been defeated. It consisted of a net of people, radios, telephones, and telegraph lines that covered all of free China. In addition to intelligence on enemy attacks, the net served to locate and guide friendly planes and aid friendly pilots who had crashed or bailed out. He also instructed hundreds of thousands of Chinese men, women, and children how to build the hard runways using crushed rock and broken tiles in strategic places. In April 1941, he was able to convince President Roosevelt to form the Flying Tigers. Anybody that I have talked to is convinced that he not only helped the Chinese and Americans to defeat the Japanese, but it is also possible without his feeble efforts, the war might have been lost. The more I come to understand the impossible odds that he was up against, the more I am convinced he made a difference. We all can make a difference if we allow ourselves to believe in the impossibilities and possibilities. As director of the Chennault Aviation and Military Museum, I have big dreams. We are very proud of the museum that we have, that not only honors my grandfather, but all of the brave men and women who have served in the military and have given us the life that we now have. But we believe that we must do more. Our museum is about the past, present, and future. We're about the past because we remember it, teach it, and believe in the importance of it. We are about the present because we have all wars from World War I through Iraqi freedom. And we try to help our present soldiers that are coming home with all the difficulties due to conflict, and then also trying to come back to the United States and lead normal lives. And we are also about the future. We see plans for a beautiful 36,000 square foot modern class building with 3 levels of exhibit space situated on a manicured 5-acre tract of land lying immediately adjacent to the museum. We hope to include an IMAX theater and a 6,000 square foot children's learning center. The new structure will not only house artifacts and aircraft, but also educational facilities that will attract students and research scholars, visiting lecturers of note, authors and military historians from both China and the U.S. Using General Chennault and his legacy as a guidepost, the goal will be to build on his accomplishments and help people, today's people of all ages, have a better understanding of history and the value of mutually beneficial relationships between peoples, especially between the peoples of China and the United States, which I believe is the most important relationship in our world today. I appreciate so much the opportunity to speak to you today. I hope that you have a better understanding of my grandfather and also an understanding how we too can all make a difference. I hope that you will join in our efforts at the Chennault Museum to make a difference for the future of our generations. And before I close, I want to tell you just a little bit about the exhibit. We will be officially opening this exhibit next Saturday, and you're all officially invited. But we also, this exhibit is based on my grandfather's book, Way of a Fighter, that he wrote in 1949. And it's a first-hand account of his experience from going to China in 1937 and the end of the war in 1945. But I'm going to close with the very last sentence of his book. And it says, "It is my fondest hope that the sun of the flying tiger will remain aloft as long as it is needed on both shores of the Pacific to show two great peoples working toward a common goal in war and peace. We fought a war together and we won as brothers. And when we left as friends. And we changed the world. It is going to be up to us now to come together as friends and change the world for our future generations." Those words are just as important today in 2015 as they were in 1949. Thank you again so much for giving me this opportunity.